Hi there, it's Nadine Blaney from AusBiz again. Really nice to be here with you this afternoon for the NWR Communications Virtual Investor Conference. And we've got another presentation lined up for you. This is AssetOwl. I'll introduce you briefly and give you a bit of a reminder that you can ask questions throughout this presentation by clicking on that box that's on your screen right now. We'll get to them at the end of the presentation. AssetOwl is an innovative technology company which has developed enterprise software, an application that provides real estate owners with one trusted platform for property inspections. Inspector 360 is the revolutionary next generation of AssetOwl's photo-centric inspection management platform, which is designed to benefit property owners, tenants, agents, and managers. It incorporates 360-degree imagery, video, voice to text, and hotspot mapping of floor plans to accurately document property conditions reports. It significantly boosts the efficiency of the whole inspection process. In short, the Inspector 360 app provides tenants, property managers, and landlords with an exact record of the condition of residential properties. So to tell us more about AssetOwl, we welcome now Jeff Goldsmith, who is the CEO of the company. Jeff?
Thanks, Nadine. Thanks for the introduction. Hopefully it will be an exciting presentation. It's always a tough gig after lunch. It's just after lunch here in Perth and 3 o'clock over there. Look, guys, my aim today is threefold. Firstly, I just want to introduce the company to new investors. Secondly, I want to just take the time to explain what we actually do, although Nadine did do an excellent job. And finally, I'll finish up with an outline of the key investment highlights for the company, obviously before taking questions. So the agenda for the next 20 minutes or so is as you see. I'll give you a quick and dirty background to the real estate industry in general and the rental industry in particular. We'll then give you a quick snapshot overview of the actual Inspector 360 platform itself. I'll then dive into some of the leading features that we have that we believe sets us apart from our competition. Give you a quick look ahead for the next 12 months so you can get an understanding of where we're going and where we're aspiring to be. And we'll round out the presentation with a summary of the key investment highlights. So the property industry itself, I mean, as you all know, the property industry is a very big component of the national economy. Residential real estate is the cornerstone of many families' wealth aspirations and their plans for wealth self-sufficiency. And of course, hand in hand with that is the actual rental market itself. If you look at households across Australia, approximately 2.5 million households are private renters. A subset of that is 1.5 million, which are actually professionally managed. And by that, we mean managed by real estate agents. I haven't got an exact number of real estate agents across Australia and New Zealand, but it's approximately 10,000 real estate industries, varying from small mum and dad outfits or operations to significant multi-state players that have rent rolls in excess of 5,000 properties. So it's quite a diverse industry itself. If you look at the real estate agents, their rental roles, as we call them, underpin their business. So they give them the annuity style income to those individual businesses. Individual real estate agents are bought and sold every week of the year. Typically, their value is dependent heavily on the size of their rent roll. So the rent roll will basically be 80% of the value of their business. And the reason for that is that rent rolls are quite sticky. They stay with the agencies, whereas their sales teams can obviously, they're free to come and go. So what I'm saying is there are a lot of businesses out there, 10,000 businesses, of which the rent rolls underpin their very business model. Now, if you look at the way the rental industry is structured, there are a number of stakeholders, and I've identified 4 key stakeholders in the rental industry: property owners, tenants, property managers, and agency principals. They've all got different concerns, they've all got different objectives, and very often each of these stakeholders are in tension with each other. So if we start with the property owner, as we've discussed, the house is typically their largest single investment. and naturally they're very concerned about the upkeep and the welfare of their primary investment. But what compounds that anxiety is that very often they don't have the opportunity to frequently inspect and check up for themselves the condition of their house. You know, they are reliant on the property managers to do that for them as their agency. So obviously there's a tension there. You can imagine that many landlords are interstate or in a different city to the location of their actual property. Alternatively, the properties may be tenanted year on, year out, end to end, and they don't get the opportunity to come in and see their house because the house is tenanted. So, yeah, they've got their own particular levels of concerns there. Then if we move to the tenant, obviously moving house every 2 to 3 years is a stressful process. You've got to, find a rental that you can afford. You've got to compete with many other different families trying to get that tenancy. And then of course you've got to move in and move all your furniture and effects. And then on top of that, you've got this rental inspection process, and you've got to hand over a considerable amount of money for bond. So their concerns are firstly maintaining their bond and being able to get the bond back at the end of the tenancy. Secondly, the actual maintenance of the house. When things break down, they have to go through the real estate agent to fix it. And thirdly, you have what can be quite an onerous inspection regime. So, the tenants have got their own concerns, and obviously there's a bit of an adversarial relationship between them and the owner. Then you have the property manager, and they're caught in between the middle of the owner and the tenant. They have to conduct the inspections, they have to write them up, they have to make sure they're compliant with detailed state regulation. Every state has got a different regulatory regime. And it's a very stressful role. And at the end of it, they may well end up in court if there's a dispute. So it's a stressful role, they're time poor, and they need support. And we're of the view that the support they've received to date from existing inspection tools doesn't provide them the support that they need or they deserve. And finally, we have agency principals. They're the ones who obviously own the business, the real estate business, and they've got their own set of concerns. They're very much worried about the sales house of the process. Obviously, that's where a lot of the attention and big sums of money come. But of course, they're also concerned about the rent rolls which underpin their business. They've also got a duty of care to their staff, and they want to keep turnover to a minimum, and they're obviously worried about optimising their labour costs and staff morale. So it's quite a complicated market with conflicting stakeholders, but it's underpinned by the inspection process itself. So if you think about it, the time where these stakeholders come together is basically governed by the inspection regime. And so it's important that that inspection regime is well supported, and we believe that we support it well. We support it with new technology, and we can do a much better job than it's currently being done. So what is AssetOwl and what is Inspector 360? Well, AssetOwl is the listed company, and our platform is Inspector 360. So Inspector 360 is an online cloud-based platform which supports the inspection process. It ensures that it assists property managers in conducting their inspection. It provides a very photo-centric environment for which they can work in. And it ensures that their reports comply with the relevant state legislation. So front and centre is the fact that we are trying to move towards more of a digital experience compared to the old paper-based experience. We do support PDFs, but what we're trying to do is shift the industry to a more digital experience. It's better for all stakeholders, it's more efficient, and we believe that using our processes, it reduces the tension between the competing stakeholders. I'll just, Steve, quickly stop there and start talking about the key technological features that are attached to our platform. There are a lot of features we can talk about. We could talk about that all day. But what I want to do is focus on the top 5 features that we believe sets us apart from our competition. First of all, start with the use of panoramic photos. And so this is the cornerstone of our platform. We basically, our platform integrates with Insta360, which is a 360-degree panoramic camera. And that gives property managers the ability to include very rich 360-degree photos in their inspection reports. So if you look at how the existing industry practice works, typically a property manager will come into a house, let's say it's a 4-bedroom house, armed with their mobile phone, and they'll take often 800 to 1,000 photos just to try and reconstruct the property itself. It's very time consuming, it's very wasteful, and at the end of it you get a report that's 20 to 30 pages. Typically the tenant isn't too bothered to try and look through all of it. Certainly the owner is not going to look past the first 2 pages. And so it sets up the whole relationship towards eventually becoming an adversarial relationship. Using our workflow and our panoramic cameras, a real estate agent can come in, they can take 1 or 2 panoramic photos of each bedroom or each room in the house, same with the garden, and then they can go back with their mobile phone and just focus on a couple of the defects. So the panoramic photos demonstrate that the house is in very good condition, and where there's defects, you make comments and individual photos. So what we've found is that some property managers, and each property manager is different, but some property managers will take, with the old system, 4 to 5 hours to do a 4-bedroom house. With our system, 1 to 1.5 hours. But not only is it faster, it gives a much better report that we believe, given the quality of the evidence that it prepares, it's more likely that you'll avoid going to court at the end of the tenancy. So that's panoramic photos. The next feature we talk about is paperless property condition reports. So we call them smart condition reports. Once again, if you look at the old methodology of doing things, very much paper-based, you do a thick report, 20 or 30 pages, you send it out to the tenant. They'll take their time to read it. They may or may not add photos. They'll sign off on it, and it goes back to the real estate agent. Using a smart condition report backed by our technology, provided the tenant agrees to it, it can all be emailed. They get this nice digitally based report with photos and comments. They inspect it, look at the panoramas, where there's an item that's damaged that they disagree with, they write their comment in, they can put their own photo in there, and then they can email it back. Well, not email back, they can send it back automatically. And our technology provides them reminders every 5, 7, 2 days before actual deadlines. So once again, it's improving the experience, it's making it more efficient for all parties, not just the property managers. And it reduces the friction within the relationship. The third feature I want to talk about is the owner's portal. So the owner's portal builds on the use of panoramic photos. So once again, it's about building the relationship between property managers, agents, and the owners of the properties that they manage. So typically what you'll do is you'll go in and you'll do your entry inspection, use your panoramic photos. Those panoramic photos combine to form what's called a virtual tour. And so the property managers then provide a link to the property owners. They can go in and they can see the virtual tour. They can literally walk through the house. What that does is it gives them a much better appreciation for the state of the house. It's a much richer experience. It's far more enjoyable, and it's far more pragmatic than looking through a 20 or 30-page report. So what that does, obviously, it improves the owner's experience. It tightens the relationship between the owner and the real estate agent. And from a business development point of view, it really sets that particular agency apart from their peers. So we now have the view that once an owner has experienced the owner's portal, they won't move to another real estate agent to manage their property unless they get that same service and that same experience. So that's going to be quite important for us going forward. The fourth feature I want to talk about is data syncing. So some tools often don't sync their data regularly. In the past, some property managers have lost 3 or 4 hours worth of work. That can't happen with our platform because we're always syncing the data. What it also enables property managers to do is they can have more than one property manager working on a property at any one time. So for large houses, that will become very important. But also what it does is it means that if you've got a property manager working on their own in a house, they've got a particular problem, they're not too sure, they want some advice on how to treat that, they can ring up the head office, they can log in at the head office, and they can actually share that same report and see it live in real time. So once again, it's about efficiencies in the workflow and making property managers' lives far more easy. Data syncing also comes into play for the tenants. So when it's time for them to do either their entry or their exit reports, they can have 2 or 3 people or tenants split the house between themselves on their own device, working at the same time, and then they sign off at the end. Or if you have a couple, typically one party will do the property inspection themselves, but they're both on the lease, so they can use their own phones and sign off at the same time. So once again, improving the tenant experience as well. Finally, I want to just quickly spend a little bit of time on our remote property inspections. We developed this during COVID last year to support Victoria. Very exciting feature of our platform. What remote property inspections to do is it enables you to have a rigorous real-time property inspection of the house without actually being there. So if you look at some of the other platforms and what West Age were doing during COVID when they were locked down, they would ask tenants to submit their own photos and sometimes their own reports. And of course, they would then have to spend time in the back office compiling it. It's a bit like a tenant marking their own exam, you know, great in one sense, but of course, it doesn't give property owners a true indication of what the property's like. So with remote property inspections, what we set up on our platform is the tenant basically downloads the app, they download the app, and it sets up a one-way video call and two-way phone conversation between the property manager in their office and the tenant themselves. The tenant then walks around the house at the direction of the property manager, gets them to stop, open cupboards, etc., and take photos as they see it on those points of interest to the property manager. It literally only takes 10 minutes. That saves a lot of time. And at the end of it, the photos go onto the platform, automatically populate the report, and there's very little time in the back office spent by the property manager to actually finalise the report. We think it's got a lot of applications going forward. It's not just for COVID, but post-COVID, where you've got for example, good tenants, you may elect to do only every second inspection night and do every other inspection using the remote functionality. Alternatively, it will also avoid situations where a property manager will travel out, half an hour to a house only to find that the tenant doesn't show. Also, it gets around the problem where the tenant's continually calling sick. Alternatively, gets around the problem where there might be a safety issue for the property manager. So there's a lot of implications on this technology, a lot of applications, and we're very excited about it. So what does that mean? Well, there's a lot of technology features there that we've just summarised. We believe they combine to ensure that the inspection process using our platform is a much better experience along the key dimensions of speed, efficiency, quality, and security. So if we just go by those quickly, one by one, I know time is starting to run out. If you look at the speed, panoramic photos, like we've said, will cut down time taken to do your property inspections for the property manager. If you look at efficiency, we have a tool that syncs, so it enables people to do concurrent inspections. Also, the actual mechanics of moving around our property platform on your phone. We have a patented process where it enables you to swipe up and down, left or right, to move freely between rooms and within a room between items of that room. And no one else has got that functionality. As far as quality and effectiveness is concerned, we have full resolution photos, unlike some of our competitors, so the quality is assured. And of course, the panoramic photos add an extra dimension to the aspect of quality. And finally, security. I haven't really talked about security, but before we moved into the residential market, the business was very much focused on how to service the retail industry using using our platform. As part of that, we were accredited with ISO 27001, which is a data security accreditation, internationally recognised. We spent a lot of money getting that accreditation, and now since we've moved over into the residential industry, we've maintained that. It's an expensive process, but we believe it's very important because data security is becoming more and more important going forward. We believe we're the only property-related tech company that has that accreditation, and certainly we're the only inspection tool at this point in time that has that accreditation. So where are we going in the next 12 months? Well, it's been an exciting story so far. When we did our last capital raise, April of this year, we had 3 customers on trial and signed up. The last quarter, which was released last week, in that quarterly, 13 customers signed up and or on trial. And we believe that we're starting to gain traction and ramp up. This month in August, we are going to rebrand. I'm not going to share what that rebrand is, but we're quite excited about it. It will set our brand apart from our competition. Once we've rebranded, we will start investing in more marketing and promotion and advertisements. We'll roll out heavily in WA, and then we'll look to enter the East Coast. So rebranding in August. In Victoria, we're still on schedule to enter Victoria this quarter. And then the last quarter of the year, we're looking to enter Queensland and New South Wales. Next year, we've got some more product development, business development, which we believe is quite exciting. We're going to target the self-managed segment of the industry, i.e. those families who choose to manage the property themselves. That's quite a large component of the rental industry. It's about 30%. By our estimates. It's not well serviced at all by inspection platforms, and we believe there's a very real opportunity. We'll also be looking at rolling out across the remaining states within Australia, and we'll be eyeing up off New Zealand for an entry sometime next year. So it's a very exciting month looking ahead, and we're starting to gain traction. Just want to quickly pause just to reinforce what I've just been talking about gaining traction. We'll talk about PropertyMe as a case study. So PropertyMe is it's a accounting platform, trust accounting tool, which provides accounting back office support to the real estate industry. They entered the Australian market in 2015 against quite a solid, well-entrenched incumbent group of competitors. From a standing start, within 4 years, they had 2,000 customers. And between 2019 and 2021, they grew to 4,000 customers, and they're tracking strongly. Now, the lesson for us is that where a new product comes in that's technically advanced, that beats the competition, that's focused on servicing the market, there is considerable scope to rapidly grow scale. And there are undoubted parallels with PropertyMe and our own platform. We believe we've got the market-leading technological features behind us. We believe that with our SaaS model, there's great potential to scale rapidly and win market share. And that's what we're about next year and the year after. Which, of course, leads me on to just to finalise with final point, talk about our inspection highlights. So obviously, we're serving the real estate industry. As we've discussed, the property industry is a cornerstone industry for the country. And importantly, we're solving a very significant pain point within that industry. Inspections are core to the industry's business model, and we can help that core part of their business model deliver more efficiencies and a better experience for all. We certainly respect the competition. They've done very well, and they've obviously built up a niche for themselves, but we believe that there are some areas where there's certainly room to improve, and we believe that our product meets those needs. Finally, I'd just like to say our solution is SaaS-based, it's digital, it's scalable, and we believe we can expand rapidly both domestically and offshore. So I think that's probably it for me, and I might give it back to you, Nadine, for questions, depending on how.
Thank you for that, Jeff. There's been a couple of questions come in. I think this is an interesting one to start with, from Scott saying, are you affected by the semiconductor shortage in producing that Inspector 360 camera system?
Short answer is no, we're not. Yeah, as long as you've got a mobile phone. And I might add, our product delivers full functionality across phones, iPads, and laptops, desktops. So short answer is no.
Another question, how many agencies out of the 4,000 have converted into full-time customers?
That's something that we'll be updating the market on a regular basis. I'm not going to do that today. But I will say, yeah, obviously, our strategy is at this point in time, as we're rolling out, to take that very slowly and methodically. Yeah, we are at the bottom of the growth curve, so there's a lot of lessons to be learned. So we're not going to rush our customers. At the moment, we're targeting 2 to 3 months before they convert, but that's only for the next quarter. And we believe with a lot of the teachers that we're taking on board, that process will compress, and we're targeting by the end of the year 1 month. There's no churn at the moment with our trial customers.
Another one's come in from John saying, how has the initial customer feedback been?
Yeah, very, very positive. There are some features that they absolutely love. The challenge that we have, which our competitors haven't faced, is that we come into a market where the competitors are already there. They've already got the customers. Whereas when the competitors entered the market, it was a paper-based system. So one of the challenges that we have to address is efficiently migrating the data from the existing platforms onto our platform. And that's a challenge for us, but we're certainly up to it. We can do it now, but not at the speed and the scale that we want to. But we will be there within 6 to 8 weeks. And what that gives us is a capability that we don't think is matched within the industry, and that is to efficiently bring on new rent rolls onto our platform. So the industry is always in churn. It's a fragmented industry. And there are always agencies buying other agencies. So they're facing the same problem. They've got their own inspection tool, that their legacy tool, they're buying a new agency that's on another tool. They've got to face that challenge of how do we get that onto our platform? And at the moment, they're doing that by manual entry. That's another problem that we're going to solve, and we'll be there within the next quarter.
And is there currently a focus on increased sales marketing, or is it a case of fine-tuning the product and potentially rebranding prior to really ramping up that sales and marketing spend?
So there's been no sales and marketing spend to date, apart from the work on our new website. That's part of the rebranding process. And the reason for that is obviously we've been focused on rounding out the platform itself. You can do a lot of testing, and we do a lot of testing on our product before it's released, but nothing meets real world experience. And we've been having that now with our first dozen customers. But with the rebranding, it's very deliberate that we're rebranding now, because we're about to expand on the East Coast. We don't want to build brand equity in a brand that's very similar to our competitors. So, we've rounded out the product. The product is superior, we believe, amongst all dimensions. Rebrand this month, and then we take the East Coast by storm. That's the plan. And so with that, there will be some marketing spend. But we're a small company. It's not going to be an extravagant marketing spend, but obviously compared to nothing, it's a significant increase in marketing.
And have the current rounds of lockdowns that are still very, very real on the East Coast pushed back any of your plans? Would you consider changing the timeline in any way, shape, or form if these lockdowns continue, and if they continue to extend and be rolling in some of the major markets in the East?
Well, if anything, Nadine, these lockdowns means that we want to get there quicker, but there's only so much we can do. We believe our product's tailor-made for lockdown. So that's one of the reasons why we're going to Victoria next. They've been heavily hit by lockdowns. Also, we've got some existing relationships last year with the work the guys did with REIV. So we believe we've got the tool that can be remotely onboarded, provides this market-leading remote inspection capability, and we're getting a lot of interest out of that. And I mean, as you know, in all segments of society, workflow and work practices are changing because of COVID. So the world is a different world post-COVID. And we believe that with our platform and the remote inspections, we're well placed to benefit from that. So if anything, we want to accelerate. We are planning on getting a sales team on the East Coast, hiring a sales manager. He or she would be based out of Victoria. Now, that process is going to be slowed down by COVID, I suspect, but that's about the only really implication for us as far as our actual timing and our current plans.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for the presentation. Jeff Goldsmith, AssetOwl CEO. We will track your progress. Thank you.
Thanks, Nadine. Take care.